Hey everyone. Welcome to Crime Family. I'm your host, Katie, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Steph and AJ. And today we're going to look at a case that's recently been brought back up in the media because of Netflix. And it's the story of Belle Gibson, who is an Australian wellness influencer who became quite successful, kind of promoting this holistic wellness lifestyle. But as we'll get into, it was kind of all based on a big lie. And this is one of those cases that I find fascinating because it's like not only is this a huge lie that someone is getting away with and, making like a bunch of money off of it, um, it's also like just not that someone could just do that and get away with it, but also just like the audacity of someone that is just like, yeah, I'm just going to do whatever I want and say whatever I want and, you know, gain from that. And so I always find it fascinating that people just, I don't know, their just conscience doesn't take over and they're like, yeah, maybe I should not do this. So this is one of those cases. So this like Netflix documentary was probably the first time I actually heard about Belle Gibson. I think this actually all unraveled like 10 years ago, maybe like 2013-ish, was it? And then it just kind of came back to light. So did you guys know anything about this before kind of the research that we did for this case?
No,
Yeah,
I never.
oh, go ahead, Steph.
No, I never heard anything about her until I watched the Netflix documentary. So to me, it was all new.
Yeah, I knew quite a bit about it because I actually watched the infamous interview in this case from the 60 Minutes Australia from I think like 2015 or something. So I had actually watched, not back in 2015, but like several years ago I watched it, and it still stuck with me because it's so incredibly cringy that like I just remembered it. So then when this new Netflix show came out, I already was familiar with her and like who she was and what she did.
Yeah, this is one of those examples where it probably wasn't the best idea to like watch this fictionized Netflix show, not even a documentary. It's like a series. It's based on what happened, but there's a lot of like stuff that isn't actually true and they fabricated just for the show. So maybe you shouldn't have watched that first before I decided to do this, but that's just the way it went. But then I went back and like tried to find the actual truth of what happened. So yeah, let's talk about it and you guys can like jump in whenever, obviously. Okay, so we are talking about Annabelle Natalie Gibson, who's known as Belle Gibson, and she was born on October 8th, 1991 in Lansdowne, Tasmania. I think that's how you say it, Launceston, Tasmania.
And we think so anyway. I mean, I think there's a little bit of confusion about how old she is or when she's born.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, we going into that like 60 Minutes interview, like she couldn't even give a straight answer about how old she was. So that's just kind of like how deep this thing goes. I'm just saying, if you love to see horrible people get humiliated on national television, that interview is glorious. We'll put a link to it in the show notes because I watched the whole like 45 minutes or whatever it was. And it's captivating because it's so good. Yeah, it is. It's very good.
Way, yeah.
Okay, so Belle, she claimed to have endured a troubled upbringing. Like there was alleged neglect and early independence. So according to People magazine, she claimed that she was forced to take care of her mother and her brother from a young age. And she claimed that her father was out of the picture and her mother suffered from multiple sclerosis and chronic fatigue. And she says that her brother was autistic and that when she started school, like as soon as she went to school, her mom, she claims that her mother just kind of like expected her to take care of everything now because she was old enough to take care of the family. However, her family does dispute these accusations, and they just suggest that they're just part of her like big fabrication for this troubled upbringing that wasn't actually true. And her brother, Nick, actually talks to Australia 60 Minutes, and he says that she lied about almost everything. And he says himself that he doesn't have autism like she claimed that he did. And in an interview with Women's Weekly, Belle's mother actually said, quote, "Belle never cared for me. Her brother is not autistic, and she's barely done a minute's housework in her life," end quote. And so her mother actually, I believe, did pass away from multiple sclerosis in 2017. And so I guess the Belle wasn't lying about that, but she just kind of takes like a little bit of truth and blows it up into this big story that isn't true. So yes, her mother had multiple sclerosis, but Belle wasn't taking care of her family at 5 years old. So for whatever reason, she just kind of like twists these like realities and to make like this bigger sob story than it actually is. And her brother in that 60 Minutes like interview just says that what she's saying isn't true. And so, yeah. And according to her family, Belle's stories about the neglect and the difficult childhood, they're all exaggerated. And they have described her as someone who is constantly seeking attention and validation. And so her family's statements, I guess they further like complicate the public's perception of Belle. And because there's like this, like, did she have this troubled upbringing? Like, was she actually delusional? Or did she actually believe her lies? Or was there actually something going on that made her like feel this way? And so they kind of like these conflicting stories were, I think, in the public's eye, just made everything a little bit more confusing about what actually was the truth. And so, like I said, she was born in Launceston, Tasmania, and they eventually moved to Melbourne, Australia, where Belle got involved in like the skating community, so like the like skater, like skateboarding. And her brother says that she actually like became a different person overnight. It was like she was who she had always been growing up, and then just the next day she was just like had completely changed her persona. And there's like this total switch of a personality. And whether that was like her consciously being like, yeah, I don't like who I am, I'm going to be someone different, or something just like completely shifted mentally, like not really sure. But in her early 20s, she began immersing herself in the online wellness community, and she had cultivated an image as someone who was deeply invested in natural health and holistic living. And so in 2013, Belle launched the Whole Pantry, which was this mobile app and like cookbook that promoted holistic health and wellness. And so, I mean, you kind of have to commend her for having this idea and then getting this app supported by Apple. Like they launched it, and then you had to pay to like download it. So she got like 200,000 downloads in a month. So, I mean, that's like probably, not easy to do. She had all these followers and they were downloading all her stuff, and she got this cookbook promotion. So it's like, yeah, was doing really well. But then when you realize it was all based on a lie, it's like, why? That's shitty. Like she could have just done this without this like backstory of how sick she was, which we'll get into. And so, yeah, central to her brand and why she had like this holistic lifestyle and why it was working for her, she claimed that she had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and that originally she was told she only had months to live, about like 4 months or something. And so she told her followers that she had rejected conventional medical treatments. She wasn't going through like the conventional chemotherapy, and she instead was healing herself through like natural remedies and eating healthy, just like positive thinking, that kind of thing. And I mean, yeah, send good vibes and you won't have cancer anymore, basically. And yeah, eat whole foods.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, really. Which, I mean, eat whole foods, that's not a bad thing, but I mean, it's not going to cure your cancer. And so, and of course, this story resonated with people who were actually like battling between, like, not everyone agrees 100% with Western medicine, like that's fine. But then if you're looking at this person on social media who has all these followers that is saying, I have cancer, I didn't do chemotherapy, instead I just am eating really well and living like this holistic lifestyle and it's working, like you might be tempted to kind of try and follow that. So that's like super dangerous when obviously what you're saying is bullshit, but then people who are actually living it are you look up to that and maybe, ditch their own perceptions of the Western medicine and the chemotherapy. So it's just like a dangerous road to go down.
Yeah, and like I think like promoting like whole foods and like eating healthy and like having a healthy lifestyle is like generally a good practice, and that will like make you be healthy and may prevent your cancer, but it's not going to treat your cancer once you already have it. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of cancers obviously aren't formed by not eating healthy. Like you can just have cancer because you have cancer. Like doesn't have anything to do with lifestyle. So saying that changing your lifestyle can get rid of your cancer really, is incorrect. As I think most people realize. But I think you can't fault those people that have cancer and they're like trying everything and just every little thing that they think is going to help them even feel better. Like, why would you not give it a try, right? So, obviously not like saying anything about that. It's just like how she perceived it is the problem here.
Yeah,
or
and
how
also
she
like because like I was just gonna say, just because like chemo obviously is super horrible and like horrendous, and like nobody obviously wants to go through it. So it's like you kind of have that like that optimism or hope that like you may be able to get the same result without having to go through the horrible effects of chemo or whatever, right? So, and people are very vulnerable when they're like that sick and are looking for any other way out, basically.
Yeah, especially like if you've been through it and like you have to go through like another round of chemotherapy or something, and you're just like, and then you see that this could be an option just by changing your diet. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you try it out? So yeah, just super vulnerable like population that she was saying like bullshit to. So, and of course, like, yeah, like we were saying, her message quickly gained traction, and Belle like amassed a substantial following on social media. She had over 200,000 followers on Instagram. Her app was featured on Apple's App Store, and she secured a lucrative book deal with Penguin Australia, like the publishing company. And she positioned herself as this inspirational figure. She was frequently sharing like personal updates and recipes and lifestyle advice. And she also claimed that a significant portion of her profits, so I think this differs depending on the source, but around like 300,000 was supposed to be donated to various charities. And of course, like that didn't happen. Apparently, only a very small percentage, if any of it, was actually donated. Like 2% of her revenue was actually donated to charity, like $7,000 or something. Yeah. So, yeah, according to Time magazine, only 2% of the total was actually donated. So, I mean, she was saying that she was this great person and she was going to donate all this money to charities, and that just never actually happened. So, in early 2015, there was suspicions about Belle's authenticity. That's when everything began to kind of surface, and there was journalists that were kind of digging into her story, and they conducted in-depth investigations, and they uncovered some inconsistencies in her cancer narrative and charitable contributions. And their findings revealed that Belle had never actually been diagnosed with cancer and had fabricated her medical history. And when she was confronted with these revelations, Belle admitted she admitted it in April of 2015 in an interview with Australian Women's Weekly that, quote, none of it's true. And so, like we were talking about that 60 Minutes interview that I'm going to get into, it's just like, it's kind of like, I don't know, she kind of admits that maybe she was leading people on, but she doesn't fully come out and say like, yeah, I made it up to gain followers. I don't know. Well, I think we'll talk about this as whether you actually think she believed it, because she, I don't know. Okay, I'll just continue on and we'll talk about it. But so, yeah, one of the like big moments in Belle's fallout was this appearance on the 60 Minutes Australia in 2016, and she was faced with these tough questions from journalist Tara Brown. And Tara does, like, if you watch this interview, like Tara does such a good like job just calling her out in her bullshit. And she'll be like, because Belle will be like, no, I never traded in my story for money. And Tara's like, it's right here. Like, I literally wrote it out in this cookbook, like your story of how you got here, like legit. And so it's just like so funny to see that everything Belle says, like Tara's like, excuse me.
And like, you clearly knew that. I guess going into, like you said, we'll talk a little bit later whether she actually believed it or not, but it's like, that like if you're selling this whole brand about like healthy eating that like, and you're trying to like show that it's effective, like, that providing your story of you having cancer and that helps you with cancer is going to help it seem more legitimate. That's going to help then propel more sales and all that stuff, right? Because like if it was just, I mean, you could do like just a cookbook about healthy living or whatever, but it's like, if you wanted to stand out amongst all the healthy living stuff out there and you're trying to like, I don't know. I just think it's clear that she like sold her story for money, and she knew that by using those details, it would help to legitimize it a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I remember Tara's even like, you're claiming that this wellness and like your change of diet like worked for you and like helped change your cancer, and Belle's just like, well, it did work for me. It's like, yeah, but not to treat your cancer. It may have helped you feel better and make a bunch of money. Like, it worked that way, but not in the way you're claiming. So it's just like I don't know, she like twists everything that anyone has to say about it. So it's just like, yeah, it's like she's actually delusional. But so when Belle was like asked directly if she was ever diagnosed with cancer, she hesitates and replies, like, I believe that I did. So she believed that she was diagnosed. So because when you watch that Netflix documentary, it kind of goes into like she's in this weird doctor's office and she's like doing this weird treatment. Whether that's completely true, I don't think, but she does kind of go on to say that she felt like she was diagnosed. So somebody told her she had cancer, and she thought she was actually going through some type of therapy. Even though there's no actual evidence that she was diagnosed, there's no actual evidence that she was going through therapy. It might have been like this, like, weird, not actual therapy, but like, I don't know. Like, do you think
she actually? Do
you think she actually believed that she was going through something, or would you?
Well, like she did. She did describe in the interview, I think, on 60 Minutes Australia, like she explains what test was done on her, like that it was like this box that this person, not in a doctor's office, but just that he came to her house, and it was this box with lights on it that he connected to her like head or something, and did something, and then said, yes, this shows that you have cancer or something.
I'm laughing because I feel like that's just so far-fetched. Like, I feel like that's BS. Like, what? It's like a...
Yeah.
Like, I don't...
And also, like, I think, Katie, maybe you'll get into this, but like, because the journalist, Tara Brown, she says, like, you lied in your book because in your book you said that you were in a doctor's office and you were diagnosed in a doctor's office. And she's like, but that's not how it happened. You have just told me now that he came to your house. So she's like, why would you lie about that? And then she's like, because I was afraid I wouldn't be believed. It's like, okay, so you did lie. It's not true.
Yeah, like she changed her story so to be a little bit more believable, because she's like, no one would believe that he came to my house and hooked me up to a box. So I just said I went to the doctor's office. But so she actually did say that wasn't true. But
it kind of it still doesn't help. Like, maybe she legitimately thought that it was true, like that he was a legit doctor, but like she just knew how it would sound to other people. So she's like, people are going to write me off as a kook if I write it as it actually happened. So like, in order to make it seem a little bit better, I'm going to lie and say it was in a doctor's office. But even if she herself believed that she did have cancer, I don't know. That's what I can't determine.
Yeah, like, I don't think she believed she had cancer. I think she just did it because it made her look like it was like a sob story that made her get her viewers. I don't really think she thinks she had cancer. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think know. Maybe even at the very beginning she might have thought she had it, but there's no way throughout this whole time she believes she had it. Like, she could have at the beginning, but she just let it go on way too long, and obviously made up things because she said she had surgery for certain things and she had all these stitches when actually that had never happened. So obviously she knew at that point that she was just like going along with the story. So whether she actually believed it in the beginning, I don't know.
And she couldn't provide medical records, I don't think. Could she? Like, there's no medical records that she actually even went.
No,
and got
I think
treatment.
at the end of this interview, she did provide medical records, and they clearly said
okay.
that she didn't have anything like that. An actual doctor said that. So, yeah, it goes back to whether she, at the beginning, was thinking she did have it because of this one person that wasn't actual real doctor told her she did. And then even after she
But then
found out she actually didn't, she just kept going along with the story.
Yeah, I mean, because she even provides the name of the doctor that she says diagnosed her, and like they could never find any records that this is a person who actually exists. Like there was no doctor by that name.
That's what I
anywhere.
meant. There was no doctor by that name of what she said, and there's no medical record that he even exists. So like,
Yeah, so either like he lied to her about his name, or she lied to us about his name, or he just didn't exist in the first place. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. So yeah, she's done a good job of like confusing the hell out of everybody. Like what actually happened, what didn't, what did you believe, what didn't you, what was true, what wasn't. So even now we're just like, I don't even really know. So it's crazy. And so yeah, throughout the interview, like we were saying, Belle, she like appeared uncomfortable the whole time, just kind of like being confronted with these questions. Like I don't know if she knew going into that it was actually going to be like that. She probably had this whole story in her head and it was like unraveling. So you can kind of see that she's just like, oh my God, throughout this whole time. And so like she repeatedly was claiming that she'd undergone like alternative treatments like we talked about, but she struggled to provide details of her supposed medical journey. So it's not like she couldn't provide like legit, yeah, like we were saying, legit records of her going through any kind of actual treatment. And she was also asked about the money that she had claimed to donate to charity. And when questioned about her specific donations, Belle, she just became very like defensive and vague, like she did with a lot of the other questions. And yeah, like the interview left everybody just like wondering, was she being entirely truthful? Was this still like a story that she had in her head, or did she actually completely believe it? And one of the other questions that she was asked, like Tara asked her, like, well, how old are you? And she had to like start her answer multiple times because Tara's like, this is like a simple question, like, how old are you? And she's like, I believe I'm 26. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, how old are you? She's like, I grew up. I'm paraphrasing, but she's like, I grew up believing that I would one day be 26. And it was like, what the fuck? And and then she goes on to say that she had like multiple birth certificates and her name had been changed multiple times. And so if she was going off the most recent document, she's actually only 23. But
that's like me saying I
26.
Grow up believe I can fly. Like, I know I can't fly.
I know.
It's weird.
Like, how old are you? Well, I grew up believing that one day I'm going to be 40. Like, what? Like, okay. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I believe one day that I'm going to be 50. It's like, okay, that doesn't answer my question at all. So it's just like she couldn't have straight answers. Like, whether she really does not know her actual birth date. I don't know. Why does she have multiple, like, birth certificates? Did she do that? Did, like, her parents give her multiple birth certificates? Who changed her name? Did they actually? Still super weird. I don't think we actually have answers about that. I couldn't find like actual answers about that.
But also, like, if someone asked, like, if you really, like, if her story was true, that, like, because she's like, it took me many, it's like, we're still digging for answers to find, like, the truth about, like, how old I am or whatever. Like, I don't know, like, again, paraphrasing, but it's like, I don't know, like when she said, if that's true, like, if you could ask the question, how old are you? You could just say, well, you know, we've been trying to find, like, whatever. Like, I don't know. She starts it 3 different times. She has, like, gives an answer because she feels like that's what the journalist wants. Like, well, how old are you? But then she's like, we're still, like, covering it. Like, she muddies the water so much. You could just say, like, if it was a legit story, you would be like, well, I grew up thinking I was this, but then I found out that I was actually not that age because of this, like, whatever, if that's a true story. But, like, the way she presents it is so, like, wishy-washy that it's, like, clear she's, like, making it up. Or to me, anyway, it's clear.
Yeah. Yeah, Tara's like, this is a simple question. And even if she doesn't know, she could be like, I don't know, and here's why. Like, not, I believe that I'd be 26 one day. Like, what? So, okay. Like we were talking about before, like, so this is the huge question, is whether her deception is deliberate or is she possibly suffering from like a psychological condition. There are some reports that say some experts suggest that she may have factitious disorder, which was formerly known as Munchausen syndrome. So I think we're all familiar with Munchausen syndrome, Munchausen by proxy, particularly. We've talked about that before. But so this is like where an individual fakes like an illness or a sickness just to get like gain sympathy and attention, which it seems like that's maybe what she was doing. Even if she believed it in the beginning, she like kept it going to get that attention. And like I said before, her family and her brother said that she was always seeking like validation and approval. So this was like, whether it was an actual sickness or just her personality, that's what a lot of experts believe is happening.
Like maybe it could have been a thing of like she was trying to save face because maybe she like believed it in the beginning. Like if that whole story about this box with lights on it that diagnosed her, like if she believed that in the beginning and then later found out, oh no, he was a sham and I got scammed, like that's embarrassing. Especially when you've like built a whole like app and like business and brand on it, then to come out and be like, actually guys, sorry, he was a scammer and I was scammed. Like that's embarrassing. So maybe she just like knew that, but like had to keep it going because she didn't want to like humiliate herself. But then she ended up just humiliating herself anyway.
Yeah, and like we hear these stories about like people that are actually so invested in their lives that they actually truly believe them. So, like if she was going to take a polygraph, she would pass because she totally believed. She got to a point where she just believed her lies. So, like, yeah, some experts are saying she's like an actual pathological liar, and she just compulsively fabricated stories to align with this characteristics of someone with a deep need for validation. So she could be a pathological liar. She can't help herself. She has to lie. And then maybe she just got so wrapped up in it, like she just couldn't get out of it. But that's like the thing, like, I don't know how someone can knowingly have this lie and make a bunch of money and make people believe something that's not true. Like for me, I'd like just feel it's just so guilty. I could never get to that point. So I don't know.
But also I feel like if you get to the point where you believe your lies and you're so confident lying, it's like you should be able to lie better than she was doing in that interview. Like to me, that she didn't seem confident at all in her own story because she kept changing it.
That's true.
So maybe she wasn't just thrown off by like the intensity of the questions. Like maybe she had a plan going in there, what she would say, but then got flustered because of the way that the questions were coming at her or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
maybe
she wasn't believable.
Finally realizing that she was lying this whole time and she was making it up. So I don't know. Yeah, like we were saying, there are theories out there that she actually genuinely believed her fabricated medical history, at least for some time. So yeah, she could have believed it at the beginning. And like you were saying, either she like realized that she got scammed and was super embarrassed, or like she just actually believed it. Her evasiveness during the interviews, particularly the 60 Minutes one, suggests like someone who's just might be unable or unwilling to acknowledge the extent of her deception. So this like adds another complexity into the like discussion around what her mental state actually was. So I don't know at this point, like what do you guys think? Do you think she actually made it all up, knowingly set out to deceive everybody, or do you think she actually just believed it at one point and then just got out of hand?
I don't know. That's the thing that I keep, when I was like researching this case or looking at it, like that's the one thing I could never determine. And that's like that with a lot of people. Like I think of like in other cases or just people who like are like that. It's like if they actually believe in what they're saying, but like it's different to like believe your lie and think that you're doing it because you believe it versus like knowing it's a lie and you're just perpetuating the lie. I don't know. I probably would lean to more. I think she's just like I think she was lying and thought of it as a way that she could like get relevance and like get money and get a following and stuff. And then it kind of got out of hand and she just, I don't know. That's what I would lean towards, but I can never obviously be sure.
Like for me, like I want to say like she has this mental illness and that like she needs help and she doesn't know what to believe because that seems more reality. But like on the other hand, I'm like, I can't believe that someone like that would falsify her whole entire life, like to be sick and take money from people. Like that I don't want to believe. But it's hard for me to distinguish like what I believe more. Is she actually
Yeah, like
mentally ill or?
Yeah, like I guess it's one thing to lie about like thinking she had cancer and whatever, but then to lie about her whole life, like about her being so independent at a young age and her autistic brother and everything like that, like to me, it's like, okay, then she's obviously, I guess when you put it against that, it's like, well, she must just be love lying. Like, cause like why, cause you could lie about the cancer stuff, but then have everything in your whole early life be true. So it's like, why would you, so she must just be a compulsive liar if she just, everything she's ever said has been a lie.
Yeah, and especially, like, she's not gonna think that someone's gonna come out and, like, say she's lying. Like, her family knows she's lying. Think they're just gonna, like, not say anything forever? Like, that's the thing. Like, she must have believed that she could get away with it or just actually believe what she was saying, because you'd have to be dumb to be like, no one's ever gonna say anything against what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. It just seems crazy. So, yeah, I don't even know what I believe either. I feel like maybe she maybe thought she was sick in the beginning, and then just like rolled with that because it was working for what she was trying to sell. So she definitely didn't believe it the whole time.
Yeah. And I also think, I was going to say this earlier too, like you said that she had 200,000 followers, which is obviously like impressive, but like there are people who have way more followers than that now. So like 200,000 doesn't sound like as super impressive, but like this is also back in 2013, like really at the start of like influencer culture, like Instagram influencers and all of that stuff. And like, so maybe it's also wouldn't have been, because now everyone knows, like, or most people know, like what you see on Instagram, that's not always true. Like it's like a very filtered image of like what the reality is. But like back in 2013, people probably still maybe knew that, but like it wasn't as like taken for truth. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like now, like everything back then was like maybe were more prone to believe it because it was before you had years and years of like knowing that it was, that Instagram was just like,
yeah,
in many
when
ways,
these things
it's like a
first
false
come out,
image.
yeah, people take advantage of because people don't know actually, the implications of it. So you can take advantage of it, which is what she did. But yeah, now 200,000, I guess, isn't even really that much for an influencer. But I guess like her app got like 200,000 downloads in a month, which would be a lot back then. I think you had to pay to download it. It was like $1 or $3. So, she made hundreds of thousands of dollars just on this app. Um, so also in 2017, it was revealed that Belle had a son who was born in 2015. And so this kind of, I don't know, adds like this other layer of complexity to her personal life. Like, and people are questioning like how this affects her son. Like, is she making him believe that she was sick? Like in that Netflix documentary, they kind of implied that her son thought she was sick and like worried about her all the time. We don't know if that's true, what her son believes, what she tells him. So yeah, she keeps that part of her life relatively private, which I guess is good for her son's, safety, but who knows what she tells him and what he believes and thinks and his side of the story. So that's like another like a sad part of it where she has this little kid involved now too. So yeah, like we kind of touched on this already. Like, just one of the most concerning parts of this was how like the impact it had on her followers. And like we said, many individuals who were struggling with cancer or serious health issues were drawn to Belle's story of natural healing. And some of these followers reported being inspired by her, believing that they too could reject conventional treatments in favor of alternative therapies. And while it's impossible to know the full extent of her influence, there could have been people who maybe stopped treatment because of her or questioned Western medicine when they shouldn't have. So I don't know if there's actually like any legit stories of people that have come forward saying that they stopped medicine, they stopped chemo because of her. But we don't know. There could be. And of course,
Yeah, I think they do. Like, I think they did a follow-up episode of the 60 Minutes. Like I think it was recent, like after the show came out on Netflix, like the same journalist, like then she talks to like experts and stuff. And like there is one woman they interview and she said that she did follow Belle, and like, I don't know the extent to which like she stopped, but like kind of, I think she bought into a little bit what Belle was selling. And she talks a little bit about that, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's really sad when people are believing what she's saying and trying to do that to actually heal themselves, when of course it wasn't going to work. And so, yeah, after people caught on and the journalists were kind of digging into her history, her medical history, and realizing that a lot of what she's saying wasn't true, um, kind of like the fallout from all of this was pretty fast. Like, the Penguin Australia, who she had that book deal with, they withdrew her cookbook from circulation, and Apple removed her app from their platform, like, pretty quickly. And the crazy thing about the cookbook is like, apparently, like, Penguin hired people to, like, work with Belle to get her up to speed on, like, how to actually cook shit, because she wasn't, like, an actual person that knew anything about nutrition or, like, healthy eating, and somehow she had this cookbook. So, like, I think they, like, worked with her to, like, make it actually seem legit, because she could just be putting these, like, recipes together that were complete shit or that weren't actually that healthy. So they actually, yeah, worked with her to make it something that was actually, it wasn't even really hers, right? She just had her story and name behind it, and somebody else that knew what they were talking about probably largely did a lot of these recipes. And
So clearly she didn't use these recipes to get over her cancer. Like, she didn't even make them up. It was someone else who did it, probably.
yeah, exactly.
So these aren't like her, like, these are my, what is it? Tried and tested, like, recipes that are good for wellness. Like, just some random person she's never met. Probably just professional
yeah.
cook made them.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just seems crazy. And like, I guess in 2017, the Federal Court of Australia, they found Belle guilty of misleading and deceptive conduct under the Australian consumer law. And she was fined $410,000 for 5 separate breaches, which included falsely claiming she had brain cancer, misleading consumers by asserting she had cured herself through natural remedies, deceptively stating that proceeds from her app and book sales would be donated to charity, falsely promising funds to organizations such as the Asylum Seeker Resource Center and the Gawler Cancer Foundation, and creating a fraudulent persona that exploited vulnerable individuals seeking hope. That's according to ABC News. And so despite her being ordered to pay all these fines, Belle has consistently refused to do so. She says that she actually doesn't have a lot of money. She's poor. She can't find a job, so she can't pay back these fines. And there are some sources that saying that she actually still does live like this lavish lifestyle. She has like a pretty nice house and stuff. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's what some sources are reporting. And yeah, so you think about, like, so what is she doing today? Where's Belle Gibson? Because this was like, what, 10, 11 years ago where this all kind of came out, I think. It was like 2013, or no. When did this all come out? It was 2017 or something?
I think the 60 Minutes interview was 2015.
Okay, 2015, yeah. So, let's see what I got here. So yeah, as of like 2025, she still owes the Australian government the fines that we just talked about. And the Sheriff's Office of Victoria has made several attempts to seize assets to recover the debt, but some reports indicate that she has evaded these efforts. So yeah, she's just like avoiding paying back anything, avoiding them taking any of her property to help pay back.
Can't she go to jail if she doesn't, like, wouldn't she be able to, like, go to jail if she can't pay fines?
I don't know. Like, I guess.
Or refusing to pay fines?
Well, shouldn't she go to jail for fraud? Like, that should have been the first option anyway.
I know. I think the whole thing was like she didn't actually have like criminal charges against her. It was just like this is what she was fined for. Even though I guess that is I don't know. I don't actually know how that all worked out, but she didn't actually, I guess, have criminal charges.
Like, it might be different in Australia what they seem criminal and what's not. I think it just depends on the justice system over there.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I guess maybe they like determined it wasn't worth like going to trial for like fraud or something. They're like, I don't know. Maybe like they've already, I don't know. So maybe they just find her. I don't really know the details of that, but like,
But
to
I
me, it
want
seems wild.
yeah, if I was those people, I'd want my money back. Like if I paid money for the books and whatever, like I would want my money
I think
back.
there was some like the Apple and like Penguin were I don't know if they were supposed to, but people were asking for refunds from them because of that. Like maybe not, I mean not the app because that was like $3, but still I'd be just for the principle of it, like give me my money back.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say like
then-
even if they bought like the cookbook and they bought the app, like what's the
Yeah.
cookbook like $40 or something? Like I mean, is it
Still
worth
though,
someone
but
going through the court system for like $50?
Yeah, but if it was like a class action where it's like everybody comes together and then everybody gets paid back, that's like still hundreds of thousands of dollars have to be paid out, even though one person only gets $40. It's the principle of it. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to court for that. Like, screw you, Apple.
Yeah, but also she has no assets, or she has no. If she's broke or whatever, they're not going to get that money anyway. Like, even if they have a judgment against her, she still has to pay it. And if she's not paying it, they're not going to get it anyway.
Yeah,
And there's no way to really make you pay it, obviously, or they would have done that.
I know. Yeah, they can't. Yeah, they really. Yeah, they can't force you to pay it. So she's just, I guess, not paying it. And I apparently like Penguin Publishing has to pay the Victorian Consumer Law Fund $30,000 for failing to fact check Belle's book. So like in that Netflix documentary, they kind of allude to the fact that they might have known what was going on, but they just kind of pushed it to make money anyway. I don't actually know the full story. I think there's like some sources are saying that, yeah, like the Penguin, like the publishing company maybe had some suspicions, but this cancer story was going to sell. So that's kind of why they pushed it, regardless of whether it was true or not. And then they just have to pay a $30,000 fine, which is like super small for like a huge publishing company, but that's 30,000 Australian dollars.
Nobody buy books from Penguin Publishing. Apparently they don't do that.
But that's like every book, apparently.
Yeah, they're like a huge
like
publisher.
a lot. Like they're huge. They're like the biggest, I feel like, publisher in the world. But like I don't know how many the percentage, but like definitely like a large percentage of books are probably from Penguin.
I should look at my book collection right now and see how many are from Penguin. Interesting.
And also, like, it's not like surprising. Like, they just care about money. Like, if this is someone who's a like famous influencer or popular influencer, they know people are going to buy your book. So, like, do they really care if it's right or not? At the end of the day, like, they don't give a shit. They just want money.
Well, yeah. Well, apparently they. Yeah, I know. I hate influencer culture. But
she
anyway.
influenced me not to watch her. That's for sure.
Yeah. Apparently, like, now Penguin has to have like a prominent warning notice on all books that contain claims about natural therapies in the future. So I guess just saying like what is being presented in this book isn't necessarily like the truth or follow it blindly kind of thing. They have to have this warning on their published works going forward. Anyway, so yeah, and also it came out like looking at some sources like where she is today. It was like she. Oh yeah, she said like this was in 2020. She had like this interview that she said she was like adopted by the Oromo community in Ethiopia. Like it's an ethnic group in Melbourne. And she said that she was in their community and they like accepted her and this was like her new life. And there was, I don't exactly remember what she was saying, but they accepted her and like forgave her for like kind of stuff she had done in the past. But then according to Forbes magazine, the president of the Australian Oromo Community Association in Victoria told Daily Mail Australia that in August 2021 that Belle was not involved with them and said, quote, "It was concerning when someone is using the community's name who is not a member of that community. She is not involved with us. She's not coming to our place. No way, no time," end quote. So it's like she's not actually involved in this community. She's just saying that she's been accepted. So that's like another lie that she's just telling, like maybe to make herself feel better. They've forgiven me, so the world should forgive me too. When it's actually not even true, apparently.
Oh my
God.
She's
it's
toxic.
Crazy.
She's toxic. It's apple cider vinegar is the show you're talking about, right? Like the Netflix show.
I meant to say that. Yeah, called Apple. It's really
Yeah.
good.
But it's like a fictionalized, like dramatized version of it, right? Like it's not a documentary, right? It's like
No, it's not a documentary. It's just
actors.
like a yeah. Like
I really like.
Yeah, they say it's based. It's a fictional series based on a true story that was based on a lie. So they take like a lot of liberties in there. And also they do make a point to say that like Belle wasn't involved and she's not getting any money from it. So, and I think they can probably get away with it because a lot of it is, maybe not a lot of it, but a bunch of it is made up. So it's not like her complete story. So probably if it's like 50-50, like 50 true, 50 not, then they don't have to like credit her or give her money for it. That's probably how they got away with it.
And she probably can't like sue them for defdefamation because they're saying it's like a dramatized.
Yeah, exactly. They're saying it's like, a lot of it's fiction.
Yeah.
So, which is good because I mean,
I'm sure
can you imagine she made
good.
money off it? Ugh, I'd be pissed.
Yeah. That's like that other one, like Netflix made a show about like Anna Delvey or whatever, that scammer, and she got money for that, which is annoying.
Of course.
So,
yeah, that's another one that's super interesting as well. The Anna Delvey.
Never heard of that one.
Oh. Well, you should watch it.
Yeah, she's a loser, but
what's it called?
Like, I don't know what the show.
There's a bunch of them out there now about Anna Delvey. Yeah, I forget, but
well, yeah, and she was on and then she was on Dancing with the Stars, which she got paid for. So it's annoying.
Anna Delvey?
Yeah, like, but she was on Dancing with the Stars, but like I remember because it was in the news because she was like competing with like a house arrest monitor ankle bracelet because she was under house arrest because she was a scammer. So they like had to like disguise it or like, I don't know.
Oh my God, why would they even reach out to her and be like, yeah, you're...
I know.
Oh, that's so weird how they're like celebrating these people.
Like legitimizing her or whatever, like, yeah. And obviously she gets paid for it because everyone gets paid to go on that show. Because they don't give a shit. Like, I feel like these corporations, like, they wanted to drum up interest in the show, which was dying, I'm sure. Like, I didn't even know that show was still on. And they're like, oh, we're going to put like this controversial person on it. It's just so annoying. But anyway.
Honestly, to be fair, though, Anna Delvey is
celebrity.
not as shitty as like Belle Gibson because she wasn't like pretending to be sick and like raising money for charity that she never gave to charity. She was just like scamming rich people and like rich corporations, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, she's a scam. Yeah. I mean, yeah. What is it like? But also like she's scamming billionaires and like it was trying to be like, haha, the joke's on you. But like, I'm sure she wants to be a billionaire and now she has lots of money. I'm sure because she made money off that Netflix show and then she gets paid. Like, I don't know. And she's selling her art for like thousands of dollars. So I'm like, she's going to be like, so she got rich off of conning rich people. So I mean,
yeah,
so
it's crazy how much she got away with.
And I'm sure the joke's on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, she wanted to be
crazy.
like famous and rich and she like technically sort of is now. So I don't know if she's rich actually, but she probably is not hard off.
Yeah. So it's just annoying. But like the thing about also because the new, like I said, this like 60 Minutes did like a new updated episode where they like talk to experts and like they talk to like this friend who like knew Bella or like knew her through like when she became an influencer and like whatever and how she saw the red flags and stuff like that. But they talked to like a psychiatrist or a psychologist guy who's like he watches like the interview, like the 60 Minutes interview, and he says that like one of the things that stood out most to him because she answers a question. I can't remember the question what it was, but there's like the journalist asked her a question and then she says like it was talking about like whether you feel remorse or something about what you did, and she said something like, I put them in my shoes and I know they feel the same way I do. And he's like, well, this just kind of shows that like she doesn't really feel empathetic because if she did, she would have said, I put myself in their shoes. That's what empathy is. Like you're putting yourself in their shoes, not they. She's like,
I put them in my shoes.
Back to herself. Yeah. She's like, I put them in my shoes. So I know that they're feeling the same way I do. That was her answer.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, no. Yeah. Like that's not empathy. That's not regret. That's not remorse. Like you're not thinking about them. You're thinking about you again. And then also like, something that stood out to me too is like the way like kind of going back to like how she lies about her age and all that stuff that's just like confusing. Like there was one answer that she had because like the journalist asks like, do you live in fear of being found out? Is the question. And she says her answer, and I like try to get a direct quote. So I'm pretty sure this is what she says. She's like, no, because I wasn't living in a space where I didn't know that this wasn't my reality. It's like, what are you even saying?
yeah.
It's like a triple negative. Like, what are you talking about? I wasn't living in a space where I didn't know that this wasn't my reality. Like, there's no, you can't, what is she even saying? So it's like, is she trying to say that she did live in a space where she did know it wasn't her reality? Like, I don't know. It's it's like, is that an intentional way of like covering up her lie, or is she just thinking she's sounding smart right now, but really sounding stupid?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think that she's saying that she believed that that was her reality. She didn't know it wasn't her
Why not
reality.
just say that?
I know.
Like,
I know.
I wasn't living in a space where I didn't know it wasn't my reality. Like that is, you have to like think about what she's trying to say.
Yeah, she just makes everything more complicated and like confusing when she tries to answer a question. It's like, I know less now that after you answered that question than I did.
Yeah, and maybe that was her intention, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, it wasn't a good look for her. Because that was like the infamous moment where like it all fell apart for her, and she never really recovered after that. Like I think she went on that interview or did that interview to like clear her name or to like clear it up, but like it made it worse.
Well, it's kind of like I feel like she goes back and forth to being like maybe admitting what she did, and then like also backing back from that because she like they ask her, I forget what they ask her, but she's like, "Are we going to tell the truth? Like, are you ready to tell the truth?" And she's like, "Yes, because I have nothing left to lose," kind of thing. But then she'll also say that, yeah, like what I was doing was working for me. And she's like, well, I was diagnosed with cancer. And then she later says, you know, she goes back and forth between like, yes, it's a lie. No, it's not. I did believe this. Now I don't. So yeah, it's, if it's intentional for her just to be like confuse the public, like she's done a very good job of that because I'm hella confused.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like I don't know if it was in the original interview, but like the updated one where they show like the behind the scenes or like extra stuff, it's like she actually says she asks if they can stop the interview because she's like, I'm feeling very belittled right now, and it's like trying to play the victim again,
that.
and then like and then the journalist is like, you're not belittled, like I'm not belittling you, I'm just asking you questions that you clearly can't answer or you're not willing to answer. It was just really just horrible.
Yeah.
That's why it's a great interview, like, if you love to see, like, train wrecks or, like, bad people get humiliated. Like I said, like, I was going to say this. There's two interviews that I always think of, like, are the two best interviews I've ever seen. One is, and they're both in the same vein of, like, humiliating people. Like, the first one is Prince Andrew. Did you ever see that interview? Like, after the whole Epstein thing came out, and then he gets interviewed by BBC trying to, like, clear his name, and it's absolutely, like, the most awkward, cringe. It's cringe. I watch it like somewhat regularly because it brings me it brings me so much joy that it like humiliated himself so bad. So that was one, and then the second one is this one. Like those are the two that are like equally just horrible hot mess interviews. So yeah, I definitely recommend the Prince Andrew one if you haven't seen it, and I recommend this one for sure if you haven't.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that Prince Andrew one now just because I would enjoy it.
Yeah, like I know this is getting off topic, but like just to give you context, like one of the questions is like, this witness said that she remembers dancing with you at this bar and you were profusely sweating, and he's like, well, that's not true because I don't sweat. I don't. And then she's like, and she says that you bought her a drink at the bar. He's like, well, I don't even know where the bar is in that nightclub, so I can't buy her a drink. I don't know what the bar is. It's so bad. So it's just actually hilarious, but it's yeah. So I recommend watching that one. It's pretty humiliating. And the Belle one is too. Belle Gibson one is quite humiliating.
Yeah. Like I was saying, it's like I just find it so fascinating that some people can like. I think we talked about like Elizabeth Holmes and like what she actually made billions, like billions with a B for like what she did, which was a complete lie. And like that stuff is just crazy to me that people can get away with it and like keep up with that story for so long and make that much money and fool that many people. And I think we talked about doing like Elizabeth Holmes one, and I feel like we should because that's still, I think, like ongoing, like her charges and stuff. So again, we're off topic, but yeah, so just interesting. This is like a different kind of case than we usually do. Like nobody died, there's no, well, I mean, some people could have died, but there's like no intentional murder or anything. So yeah, still a crime. Interesting. But that's all.
Well, maybe not a crime according to Australian law because she didn't get any charges. But
yeah, just a fine. Yeah, because I guess you can't prove that was her fault that people stopped chemo, and even if they did stop, it's their choice. She didn't force them, so I guess I also wanted to because in the Netflix documentary, that other woman that's in there, like her name was Mila, I think, in the show. Like, I think that is an actual real story too. I don't know if like the connection, if they're actually with Belle or they just like brought her story in there saying she was connection. But that's super interesting that she actually had cancer and went through like the wellness or like the natural path trying to cure it, and then she ended up dying. And she tried to, and her mother ended up dying too. Like that's a true story. So whether it happened completely that way, I don't know. But yeah, that's just aside. It was an interesting part to put in that series.
Interesting. Yeah, crazy case, and crazy scammer. Crazy scammer case. So I think that does it for our discussion. You're done, right, Katie? We're gonna wrap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow us on all the socials: Facebook Crime Family Podcast, Instagram Crime Family Podcast, or on TikTok Crime Family Pod. And you can email us at crimefamilypodcast@gmail.com. And like I said, we're gonna put like links into in the show notes to like the interview for sure. But yeah, thanks so much. We'll be back next week with a brand new case or a brand new episode. And until then, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.